The Lunaverse, episode 21, Dear with the Folks, by RKStriker JK5, chapter 6, Lunaverse, by Rainbow Double Dash. Lyra's mind swam with the events of last night, playing and replaying the disaster as it unfolded. She tossed and turned in bed, sleep eluding her, save for the briefest of moments. Was there anything we could have done differently? At all? She left the bed in the confessiotorium before Bonbon was awake, wandered about Ponyville for a bit, straying close to quills and sofas or Curry's comestibles, but never quite going up to the front door. Long travels eventually brought her to the residency. With a moment's hesitation, she opened the gates and walked inside. Pokey was at the front desk, a stack of paperwork in the inbox. He looked at Lyra, then jerked his head in the direction of Trixie's office. His horn glowed and the door opened.
"Trixie! She's here!"
he shouted. Lyra half smiled at Pokey, then continued into Trixie's office. She went in to find Trixie at her desk, reading Don Raicante of Equestria. Trixie's eyes were glued to the book, but her horn glowed and the liquor cabinet opened. A bottle of bourbon and glass floated out, but both suddenly stopped in midair. "Oh no. No. Lyra muttered. As Trixie muttered, the glass suddenly floated back into the cabinet, with the bottle continued on its way to Lyra. "That's better." Lyra took the bottle in her own magic, opened it up, and took a swig of the amber-colored liquor. The bottle spasmed in her grip. She half stuttered, or half twisting. "Oh, wow!" Trixie finally looked up from her reading and smirked. "That is why Monsieur Bonbon and I are so intimately acquainted." She took the bottle and put it away. "I heard a bit about it last night, and I expect to be hearing more about it this afternoon, since a la carte is still standing. The night didn't go nearly as bad as rumors made it out to be." Lyra rolled her eyes and waved Trixie off. "The building's still standing is one of the better things to happen. We're looking at about 1,500 bits worth of fines, probably more. Pop has a black eye and his horn hurts even worse than before. Skylaw's primaries were damaged, and Dad got a nasty kick to the ribs. Not sure the condition of Bonbon's parents, but at least Curry's glasses were broken and Honeydew was a wreck." Trixie finally closed the book and put it away. She slid off her chair and walked to Lyra. "Better than rumors, then. I have no idea there's anything I can do, even as the official representative of the Night Court and Princess Luna. But if there is, I offer my services to you and Bonbon in this hour of need." Lyra sighed and slumped. "I don't suppose you could have Luna issue a decree that our parents have to get along, or else?" Trixie glanced at her hat, currently on the desk. She rubbed her chin but waved Lyra off. "Tempting, but I'm not sure Dad'd fly. Besides, is it really necessary for them to get along?" Lyra stared down at Trixie from the couch. "Well, yeah. I mean, okay, absolutely strictly speaking, it's not legally necessary for them to get along. But it would make things a lot smoother and easier." Trixie shrugged. "I'll take your word for it. Not exactly my area of expertise." She rubbed her chin. "How's Bonbon handling the fallout?" "Well, she doesn't appear at all in the fic, and, Lyra has a guest appearance, but the other fallout!" Lyra opened her mouth, but stopped short of speaking. Her cheeks turned a slight shade of red as she suddenly began studying the ceiling. "We basically went to bed with barely an exchange, and then I sort of left the confessiotorium before she woke up. Wasn't entirely what to say to her, or do." She looked down at Trixie and scratched the back of her head. "Whoops!" Trixie stared at Lyra, slapped her forehead, and slowly dragged her hoof down to her face, and pointed to the door. Lyra slid off the couch and sighed. "Yeah, you're right." She started walking, then stopped to look at Trixie. "Think she's gonna be angry with me for leaving before she even woke up?" Trixie eyed her. "I'll have one of the guest rooms ready in case the worst happens." She suddenly held up a hoof. "Not that it's going to happen!" She slowly walked out of her office, Lyra following along. "You two will be fine. I'm sure of it." She opened the door, and the pair walked to the gate. "Now, go back to Bonbon and make up. Then talk to your families and get this entire thing sorted out!" Lyra grinned and kicked at the air. True love shall triumph! As he called out and galloped off. Trixie radioed off. Yes, I go do that. True love thing you do with her. Pokey walked out and fired Lyra's departure. He leaned in too close to Trixie.
So I get one of the guest rooms ready.
Make sure we stocked up on ice cream too. Lots and lots of ice cream. Tin, Davenport, and Skyla sat down at the kitchen table, each one growing slightly and shifting in their chair. Skyla slowly extended her wings, wincing with each movement. Davenport's right foreleg was wrapped around his barrel, and his breath came in short, pained gasps. Tin, meanwhile, had a bandage around his horn, and right eye was almost swelled shut. Skyla retracted her wings back to her body. She looked at the two.
So I hope neither of you two are even going to try to go to work today. You both look like you went 10 rounds with T-Rack himself.
Davenport looked down at a cup of coffee in front of him.
Grills and sofas can do without me for one day. I'll leave a note for them, as soon as I can move from this chair.
He tried to slide off the chair, but stopped and turned back to his coffee.
They'll understand when I'm not there.
Tin nodded.
I've got a sick time accrued. I'll talk to my boss tomorrow.
His horn glowed, then dimmed, and his eyes crossed.
Next week! Next week!
Skyla nickered and waved to pair up.
Sure. Just do that after we make amends with Curry and Honeydew.
She sat gasped and curled her wings back in.
And maybe I could send a letter to the weather factory and let them know I'll be in Ponyville for a week or two.
Davenport narrowed his eyes.
What? Make amends? What did Tartarus do we have to make amends for? They were the ones acting like immature fools. Curry blew everything out of proportion and assaulted poor Titty.
Skyla canted her jaw to the left.
Well, yes, that's actually true. But you two should still reach out to them and try to fix things.
If only for Lyra, she sighed.
Come on, you two. Be the bigger stallions, alright? I know you got it in ya.
The two stewed for a moment, but finally dropped their heads.
Okay, I'll go,
Tim muttered.
We'll do it for Lyra.
He rubbed his horn.
I'll head to Curry's shop after I stop off at Ponyville General, okay?
Skyla smiled.
A looky there, Tinny.
He looked at Davenport.
Will?
Davenport nodded. I'll head Rover right away. He sat in his chair. A little help? Skyla extended a wing and brushed against Davenport's shoulder. Winston pulled it back.
You first. It's just your wings, Skyla, not your entire body.
Lyra galloped down Main Street, slowing down slowly as he approached the conventionatorium. She swallowed hard, and sweat formed on her brow as she noticed the open sign in her front door. She cantered to the side and craned her neck to the right, trying to look in while keeping as small a profile as possible. Bonbon was inside, waiting on Thunderlane and Rumble. Her head suddenly shot up and locked eyes with Lyra. Her grin turned brittle as she jabbed her foreleg at the floor.
Oh, somebody's having some couch time tonight!
Lyra swallowed, but squared her shoulders and marched to the front door. Passed by Thunderlane and Rumble, past the main counter into Bonbon's side. Hi, dear, she said, grinning from ear to ear. Bonbon kept her eyes locked in her head. Thank you. Come again, she said to Thunderlane and Rumble. She waited for them to fatally depart, before turning and glaring at Lyra, eyes lit with an air of flame. Where the Tartars have you been? I've been waiting thinking about you! I was about to close up shop and go round up a search party! Lyra struck down with each word, finally ending on her belly with her forelegs over her head. She peeked out at Bonbon from behind a lock of mane. Bonbon, I am so sorry I made you worry. I didn't mean to. I just got a bit nervous about what we talked about and kind of bolted. I was a foolish idiot and didn't think things through. Bonbon's expression gradually softened. She let out a breath and stepped back. Okay, you're forgiven. It's all right, Lyra. She reached out and held Lyra to her hose. The two embraced briefly. You're still sleeping on the couch tonight. Lyra sighed. Yeah, I figured that. I wandered Ponyville, had a talk with Trixie. She sent me back here after some actually good advice. Not exactly the stuff of ballads, but a decent quiz for enlightenment. Bonbon blinked. I'll have to buy her a basket for heartwarming at this point. She leaned in. What did she tell you? Well, she reminded me that, legally speaking, There's nothing our parents can do to us. We're both adults, and neither of us live with them. You can't forbid us from seeing each other, being mere friends, and going further in our relationship. Bonbon's jaw moved to the right with a novel crack. Well, I suppose that's good news in the legal sense, although it's gonna play Mary to Tartarus with any wedding we have. Lyra snorted. We'll have to make sure the aisle is lined with guards' ponies, and make sure they don't try anything. She straightened up and turned her face marked serious. Make sure to dispose of all weaponized plants, tools, and couch cushions before attending the ceremony. Bonbon bit her lip, but soon began giggling. Lyra soon joined in, and the two spent the next few minutes laughing. Bonbon eventually sucked in a breath and stayed to herself. As much as I'd like to sweep it all into the stable, our parents trying to kill each other is still going to make our lives a living Tartarus, no matter what they legally can or can't do. Yeah, sure, they can't stop us from being together, but they're still going to make it difficult no matter what. She shook her head. It'll play merry havoc with our lives and the lives of our friends. Lyra dragged her foreleg over Bonbon and pulled her in for a hug, nuzzling her. I know. Ten Skylight made their way to the Ponyville General, located on the outskirts of town. Skylight flanked him, a wing gingerly draped over his body, as the two serially made their way there. They briefly stopped off at an unfinished building that the construction company Tin worked for was building to let him know of his condition, before continuing on their way. Ponyville General came into view. However, Honeydew also came into view, approaching from the opposite end of the road. The three slowed down as they reached Ponyville General's gate. Well, this is awkward, Skyla said, chuckling lightly. Honeydew adjusted her glasses and sneered. Oh, Tin Taylor, my arch nemesis. She suddenly paused and looked to the side. No, wait. I already have an arch nemesis. If it's firing the platypus, can I leave? Sorry, the position is filled. You can be part of my rogues gallery, though. Her horn glowed, and a clipboard floated out of the saddlebag. I'll just have to make a few notes, and we'll be all set. Tim rolled his eyes and slapped his forehead. Fine, sure, whatever. He grimaced, and legs wobbled as his hoof pressed against his horn. Skylar glanced and wound the ring around him, keeping the tips away from his body. Steady, Tinny, steady! She gasped as he leaned into her wing, but kept firm against him. Honeydew stared at the two for a moment. She walked up to Tin and craned her neck up around his head. Appears to be physical trauma caused by blunt force. What are your symptoms? Tin and Skylar both stared at Honeydew for a moment. Well, it's hard for me to perform telekinesis, even small items. Tin began. After a few minutes, I can get lightheaded and have to stop. Honeydew nodded. So I assume you're getting the usual exercises and therapy for it. She clicked her tongue with a mute nod. It's a step in the right direction, but I think your internal channels are partially obstructed. You have to funnel far too magic for even the simplest task. Sky glanced between the two unicorns. You seem to know quite a bit about this. Not that I'm ungrateful or anything for you helping him. Honeydew threw her backhand cackled. My dear Skylar, I am a unicorn myself. More importantly, I am a scientist, and I have more than my fair share of accidents in the lab. She tapped her horn and blushed. I've had more blows to the head and horn than I can count, and I own an abacus. Both Skylar and Tin Barton laughed. Good point. Are we sure Honeydew isn't Trixie's secret mother? I'm just saying, are we positive about this? Are we sure? Maybe in the main verse. Tin looked down at the ground, kicked up a small goose. Sir, listen, Honeydew, I wanna... No, don't, Honeydew said, waving him off. The parents came off as immature fools, posturing and parading like a rodeo. Curly and I are as afoot as you and Davenport. She shifted her eyes to Skylar. And you were caught in the middle, trying to wrangle some semblance of order from a hurricane of chaos. I'm sorry you were hurt, my dear. Can you forgive me? There was silence for a solid minute from Skylar and Tin. Their jaws hung open, and their eyes were the approximate size of saucers. Skylar closed her mouth and swallowed, then spoke. Policy birthday accepted, honeydew. Thank you. That was remarkably coherent from you. Ain't no talking about weaponized festivals, even. She said, winking. Honeydew grinned and quickly followed away. She slowly tapped her right temple. I am broken. Here. In my mind. It wasn't an accident or something deliberate. I was born like this. She waved at Ponyfield General. Here, they helped me. I get a little better, but it never lasts. And all as this, I know. She smiled at the looks of confusion. I know I'm not well. I know when I get better. The worst is, I know the difference between the two. And I'll never fully be better. Tim swallowed and wiped his eyes, now sullying with sweat. Sorry, he said, his voice rough. Sorry, too. Honeydew shrugged. I've dealt with it all my life. My bad times are not nearly as bad as they could. The medicine helps. She leaned in close and grinned. Besides, I have a reputation to maintain as the town's mad scientist, yes? Tin half smiled. That's one way to look at it. Honeydew slid back, and her grin fell away. What I want is best for my darling Byron, and that's Lyra. She turned her head to the side and stifled a giggle before continuing. I'm not sure how well we can get along for extended periods of time, but I'm willing to try. At least to keep any arguments or fights to a minimum. Skylar nodded at her. That's good to hear, Honeydew. She looked at Tin and gently prodded with a hoof. Come on, Tinny. Tinny playfully batted her away. Okay, I'll do my best, Honeydew. Skylar blew out of breath and wiped her forehead. Well, nice to see you're both doing your best, for the sake of your kids, and keeping collateral damage to a minimum. Both important goals. I'm certain your bank accounts will thank you already. Davenport stopped in front of Curry's comestibles. His ribs hurt less, but they were still dull aching in his midsection. He squared himself, and with barely a moment's hesitation, strode inside. He spotted Curry standing next to a display of canned vegetables, talking with a customer. He walked to the pair, but stopped short of saying anything. Curry glanced at him out of the corner of his eye and mustache. Still disheveled from last night's altercation, twitched. The handles for his glasses were bent and taped up. He sported a large bruise on his cheek. May I help you? He asked, voice somewhat flat. Davenport backed up slightly. I'm sorry for interrupting. I'll wait till you're done. Curry's brow furrowed for a moment, but quickly turned back and talked to the customer for a moment, sharing a laugh with her before breaking off and turning to Davenport. Thanks, he said, looking around the shop. Davenport followed his gaze, knowing a few other ponies milling about. He turned back to Curry. Are you here by yourself? Curry thanked, turning to a customer, waiting at the register. Davenport following. Yes. He rang her up and bagged her wares, waving her off. Thank you, he called out, smiling. He looked at Davenport, smile gone. Here's to try and make some sort of amends. I've kind of got my hands full. Davenport nodded as he looked around again. Yeah, I can tell. Where's your help? Curry stopped short and turned to Davenport. My help? I don't have any. It's just me. He held up a hoof, even as Davenport opened his mouth. Honeydew helps out, but it's mostly behind the scenes. Her out on the sales floor can lead to accidents. Davenport was his mouth open wide. Just you? Running your shop? How? I've got 8 employees under me, and it's still a bit hectic. Curry leaned back slightly at Davenport's words. 8 other employees? What does a furniture/stationery store need that many who's for? Davenport chuckled. Trust me, I sell a lot of furniture. The presidency has a bulk buying discount with me, and I still make bank. And between them and City Hall, my stationery puts me in black almost by itself. I looked at the various other customers around. Need a hoof? Before Curry could say anything, Davenport sidled up to Coconut. I was examining heads of lettuce. After a few minutes, Coconut scooped up a half-dozen heads into his basket, tried over to Curry, and placed the basket on the counter. Curry looked over to Davenport. Okay, you talked me into it. The pair attended to the customers as they walked in. Davenport chatting them up while Curry rang them out and held up the details about the product that Davenport didn't know. After the mid-noon rush, Curry pulled out a small basket and set it on the counter. He motioned to the somewhat empty shelves.
Whatever you want is on the house. You more than earn it.
Davenport grabbed the last bushel of carrots and a pair of radishes, then walked over to the counter. Thanks, he said, sighing, slumping his shoulders.
Either I'm getting old or I rely a bit too much on my employees.
He looked up at Curry, a look of respect on his face.
How do you do it?
Curry munched on a sandwich before speaking up.
A lot of running back and forth. A lot of tenses and clipped answers.
He held up a hoof and looked on the other side of it.
An investment in extra safe horseshoes.
Both laughed for a moment. Davenport looked around again.
Still impressive, Curry.
Swallowed looked down at the floor.
Listen, I'm sorry about last night. I got carried away in A22 on. That's pretty harsh to you, too. I'm a medium business owner, and I should know how hard it could be. Curry shook his head. I think we four of us acted quite badly and ruined the night for Bonbon, Lyra, and Skylar. They wanted a nice family dinner, and we trashed the place.
Looked down at the register.
And we'll be paying for that in more ways than one.
Davenport nickered. Yeah, Tinny and I aren't looking forward to that hit either. A shame we couldn't do this last night, Curry. You're a pretty good stallion. Curry nodded to him.
So are you, Davenport.
He looked up at the front door as opened, and Tin, Honeydew, and Skylar walked in. Skylar looked at the two, then around the shop.
I'm really hoping business was good?
She asked, and there was a smile across her face. Davenport and Curry exchanged a glance. The Curry's mustache shifted as he smiled.
Yeah, I see business is doing just fine between us.
Bonbon and Lyra made their way for Curry's comestibles. Okay, we'll start with your parents, then mine, Lyra said, keeping her head high. If they can't get along, that's like Trixie said. It's not our fault, and they can deal with it. Bonbon narrowed her eyes. If they can't deal with it, tough on them. She thrust her hoof in the air. We're not fools, and they can't forbid us to see each other or live long together or anything. They slowed down as they approached the storefront. Ears waggled a bit as voices could be heard inside. Bonbon slowly walked out to the front window and peered inside. No way! She gasped for the door and went inside. Lyra followed. Inside, Tin, Davenport, Skylar, Honeydew, and Curry all stood on a loose semicircle, smiling and listening, as Davenport continued speaking.
So I asked Blue Blood, if that's the couch, where's the cons?
The other four laughed. Honeydew cackled and patted Davenport on the arm.
Oh, my dear Davenport, when I rule in Celestia from my candy-encrusted castle, I shall give you Manhattan!
I thought she was going to give him Australia.
Davenport, ruler of Australia!
Okay, make one more Superman joke and
Trixie, so where's your getting a weapon?
Davenport nodded. Thanks, I think. Looked over to Lyra and Bonbon.
Hey, you two! Great to see you here. We've all got something to say to you.
He sucked in a breath. We're sorry about last night. We acted like morons last night. Can you forgive us? Bonbon's mouth quavered. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Davenport, she finally said.
Curry spoke up. Don't worry about the money for damages from last night. We four will take care of it. Pointing to Skylar. We mean it too. No money from you, Skylar.
Skylar shrugged. Okay, fine. Lyra started stopping among the five. Okay, I'm not going to complain about you getting along, but how did you manage it? Yeah, you four were going to go to war last night. Not that I'm complaining either. Davenport looked down at Curry's hooves.
I guess we just had to get to know each other a little better. Walk a mile in each other's horseshoes for a bit.
I can't promise we won't always get along, but last night was the worst of it. Lyra waved him off. We'll take it, Dad. Skylar frowned and rubbed her chin.
Hey, were you two looking for us?
Lyra and Bonbon looked to each other, dissolving fins as giggles. Heidi frowned at them and dusted their glasses.
I'll just never understand these young fillies. They can act so weird sometimes. Lunaverse was filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Guys, this is an RKStriker fic. I think by now we have done enough of these,
and have probably read enough of these together that you could probably guess what I'm going to say. As a matter of fact, let's do some ad libs here, shall we? This fic was awesome! The characters were in character! The comedy was hilarious! The OCs well defined! The heartwarming moments, heartwarming! Making this story really good! And I should really get to the trailer! You guys are good at this game. But instead, I want to touch upon a few subjects about this story that I'm really glad it did well. As I pointed out in the commentary, if there's one thing I hate, that I utterly despise when it comes to some of my favorite shows and sitcoms that have to deal with families, it's the evil mother-in-law trope. I hate it. I utterly despise it. If there's one thing that could turn me off an episode quicker, is when I see an evil in-law trope coming in here. Yeah, this is even with cartoons that I love. I love Flintstones, and yet I hate Wilma's mother so much with a fiery passion. I hate Patty and Selma so much that I just want an episode where they both die. It's a shame that we lost Flanders' wife, but Patty and Selma are still alive. Yeah, I utterly despise this trope. So, because, why? Because it's cliched. It drags on the plot. It's got no purpose other than make the character who's the in-law feel down. And ultimately, it serves nothing to the plot since you know the couple's going to stay together. Because if the couple was going to allow one of their in-laws to determine who they love, they wouldn't be together in the first place. This also leads to my other problem. The unfortunate implications. Maybe it's just me, but I think that those in-laws were so cruel to the people who married their kids. I shudder to think what their home lives are. Like, Patty and Selma proved that by showing how little they cared about Marge. I'm telling you, 5-1 odds, Wilma comes from an abusive household. I'm willing to bet you anything. Wilma doesn't show it, but she probably has had to deal with some cigarette burns from that evil, miserable, contemptible witch of a mother of hers. Oh yeah, I go there. So imagine what a relief it is to see that the problems that arose from this fight didn't come from Haidu thinking that Lyra was beneath her daughter. Didn't come from Tinny whining Lyra. Didn't come from Curry whining Lyra's head. Didn't come from Davenport and Tinny thinking that Bonbon was a horrible, horrible mayor. No. Their problems came from interpersonal ones. And for me, interpersonal relationships come far better than just, "You miserable cod! How dare you marry my daughter? Make her happy, keep her secure, give her a life, give her everything she wants, give her a great time when she could be miserable and lonely and contempt." And this adds more flavor to the characters. Also, the fact that we get to see everybody's home lives also changes these characters from being one-shot knockoffs to being, well, characters. This is why I love them so much. Honeydew has become one of my favorites so far because of how hilariously deranged she is. And she really is deranged. This adds some more oomph to the characters. This also makes sure that they don't come off as monsters, but as people who genuinely care about their children. This, in turn, makes me care about them, so I don't have to just write them off. I also love the fact that the fights came to a head and they were fixed by simple talking. By allowing these scenes to flow, we allowed the characters to fix their
from a flowing natural narrative. The other thing I liked is Skyla. Oh, no. Not just her as a character, but what she is. She's she is the surrogate mother to Lyra. Which means Tinny donated his sperm to Skyla. She carried Lyra for 9 months, had the little foal, and they're adorable. I'm seeing Philly Lyra in my head. She's cute. But you get the picture. I can't begin to tell you how many times I've had to sit through a fanfiction selection, looking up a yaoi and seeing the words "Empreg." Heck, one of the things I love about ponies is that we are the only fandom that I've ever read, that I've ever been a part of, that has done lesbian on lesbian pregnancies. You know, where two lesbians don't have a male counterpart and they get pregnant. This is the only time I've ever seen that happen. Most of the time they go from Mpreg. But still, that's the way most of these things happen. Look no further than Luna the Matchmaker and Tutti Flute Makes 3, where Twilight uses a spell. Here, though, it takes a more realistic approach. They decide to go surrogate. And seeing this kind of adds to the uniqueness of the world, for one, and two, adds a few things. Adds an extra character, adds an extra relationship for Lyra, and yeah, there's a lot of red tape, I'll admit, when it comes to this sort of thing that I think some authors probably just don't want to go through. But this is still a viable option. It's something I wish I would see more often and talked about. Talked about in both fics and sometimes even certain stories I love. Showing that, yes, this can happen, and, you know, it doesn't always have to mean that there's going to be some family rumbles here and there. It could also mean that one parent gets to act like an auntie to her quote-unquote daughter. And actually spend some time, and the family relationship can be happy. And no, this doesn't mean that it immediately turns one character straight or the other. It can just mean that, oh, I've donated my sperm/egg cells to a mare who needs it because I really want a child. Okay, I accept it. I'll carry this child for a while, and boom, here's your baby. Let's talk over the details. There is actually one other fic that I've seen this done with, and this was actually done with Soren and Bonbon and Lyra. Which I really gotta reread that one day. But I digress. This makes the story better, and a well-written tale too. But anyway, move on to the trailers. I've had a little bit of an impasse, guys. I've got some of the next stories are incomplete. However, that does not mean we are without a story. So I'm going to leave it to the guys at the forum, and I'm going to try to decide whether to pull off Elements of Insanity, Foolish Misadventures, or Treasure. Enjoy. I'll see you guys next time.